Thanks for joining us today. If you haven't joined us before, we exist to help you discover the hope and life of Jesus and to share it with others.
And if this is your first time tuning in, then head on over to g2york.org/hello and we'd love to get to know you better.
And this Valentine's Day, we can't promise you candlelit dinner and roses, not that you would have been expecting that from me and Annabelle, but we are going to enjoy together part 2 of our celebration series where we hear loads of updates and stories from across the G2 community of what God is doing. If you missed last week, do catch up on YouTube and Facebook. There are loads of brilliant stories in there. Put in the comments what was your highlight of last week, and Annabelle, what was yours?
I really loved hearing from Liz about her joining G2 while we've all been online, and particularly that she joined the living room on the week that we were desperately trying to win tickets on the plane.
G2 Airlines.
Exactly. And I just think if you join that and you think this is the place I want to be, then you've come to the right place.
So let's take a minute now. Why don't you stand with us as we worship God, thanking Him for all the brilliant stories we heard last week and in anticipation of the other great ones we're going to hear today.
God of Abraham, you're the God of covenant, the faithful promises. Time and time again, you have proven that you do just what you say. Though the storms may come and the winds may blow, remain steadfast and let my heart learn when you speak a word will come to pass. God of Abraham, you're the God of covenant, the faithful promises. Time and time again, you have proven that you do just what you say. Though the storms may come and the winds may blow, remain steadfast and let my heart learn when you speak a word will come to pass. Great is your faithfulness to me. Great is your faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the setting sun, we'll praise your name. Great is your faithfulness to me. God, from age to age, though the earth may pass away, your word remains the same. Your history can prove there's nothing you can do. You're faithful and true. Though the storms may come and the winds may blow, remain steadfast and let my heart learn when you speak a word will come to pass. Great is your faithfulness to me. Great is your faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. Great is your faithfulness to me. I put my faith in Jesus, my anchor to the ground, my hope and firm foundation. He'll never let me down. I put my faith in Jesus, my anchor to the ground, my hope and firm foundation. He'll never let me down. Oh, I put my faith in Jesus, my anchor to the ground, my hope and firm foundation. He'll never let me down. I put my faith in Jesus,
Just one word, you calm the storm that surrounds me. Just one word, the darkness has to retreat. Just one touch, I feel the presence of heaven. Just one touch, my eyes are open to see. My heart can't help but believe. There's nothing that our God can do. It's not a mountain that He can't move. Oh, praise the name, He makes a way. There's nothing that our God can do. Just one word, you hear what's broken inside me. Just one word, you revive every dream. Just one touch, I feel the presence of heaven. Just one touch, my eyes are open to see. My heart can't help but believe. There's nothing that our God can do. It's not a mountain that He can't move. Oh, praise the name, He makes a way. There's nothing that our God can do. Oh, there's nothing that our God can do. There's not a prison wall He can't break through. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can do. There's nothing that our God can do. We will believe. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise, let all agree. There's no power like the power of Jesus. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise, let all agree. There's no power like the power of Jesus. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise, let all agree. There's no power like His power. There's nothing that our God can do. There's not a mountain that He can't move. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can do. Oh, there's nothing that our God can do. There's not a prison wall He can't break through. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can do. Sing it. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. There's nothing, there's nothing, there's nothing. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. There's nothing, there's nothing. Oh, there's nothing that our God can do.
Today, we've got even more stories to hear from across the G2 community. It's such an encouraging reminder that we get to be part of this vision of G2 to share the hope of Jesus. So let's kick things off by hearing from Lydia about G2 students and then Adam on G2 in person.
Undeniably, this year has been really different for students. Freshers' Week is normally one of the most hectic weeks of the student calendar, and this year it saw club nights out swapped for flat trips to Mecca Bingo. So many people have had great conversations around their kitchen tables with their flatmates, and that's been the main way to socialise. As term has gone on, our students haven't found themselves busier with more social events, but a lot of them have more free time as self-isolation has struck. As G2 students, we've been doing what we can to keep up with the tier changes, and this has looked like meeting in groups of 6 at Spark York for a drink, getting to know each other better on prayer walks and praying for our campuses, having small groups, mostly online now, and a few fun things as well. We've been doing quizzes online, we've had an Instagram takeover, as well as getting to know each other deeper with online prophetic appointments. It's been a really busy couple of terms despite the circumstances, and we're so thankful for all of your support. You might remember back in November we did the stand on Hes Green. It was 24 hours a day for 5 days, praying for our students across this city. And it has been amazing to see the stories coming out of that and the way that God is blessing our campuses. So thank you so much for getting involved and for praying for students. Again, we've had hope gifts where members of our community have made sweet treats and baked goods and taken them over to some of our student houses and flats. And that's been an incredible way to bless our students and also their non-Christian housemates who have then asked questions. So thank you so much for getting involved in that as well. Our students have been asked not to return to campus for the time being, and as they're all scattered at the minute, would you please join me in praying for them, that they would be bold where they are, that they would be spreading the kingdom even though they're not all gathered together right now. And would you be praying for us as G2 students as we figure out how to encourage and support them better? Even in the middle of a really difficult circumstance, our students are absolutely on fire for Jesus, and we are so thankful that we're part of a community that's so welcoming and excited about students and student life. So we can't wait until we're back in person again, worshipping together, having student nights, worship nights, all sorts of events on campus as well. So do be praying for us as we prepare for that as well. Thank you so much for all you've been doing to support our students, and please continue to pray for them in this time.
So if I'm being honest, before I came to university in my adolescence, I thought that the decision to make a big change in terms of moving forward with God and growing your relationship with Him and having these big spiritual moments were rare. I thought that they were just infrequent things that maybe happen once every now and then, and every other Sunday after that was just singing hymns, talking to your friends, listening to a sermon, whatever. When I became a student, I realized that it's going to have to be a bit more active than that. And when I started going to church at G2 as a student, I started to realize that this spiritual push to want to grow your faith with God can be so much more frequent. It doesn't have to be rare events that we, look forward to every year or something. Because at the heart of it all, Christianity is about that spiritual drive to want to grow your faith with God. And it was a really eye-opening moment for me. I remember one Sunday in particular when that really became apparent to me. And I'm really happy with my eyes, because I don't think my faith would grow as strong if I didn't have that push.
Hey, we've been meeting online for nearly a year now, haven't we? When we were last in person as G2, we were 2 different sites. G2 Burnham at the Burnham Centre and G2 City at the Central Methodist Hall. Of course, those 2 sites have now since closed. I know that for many of us, there's been a lot of pain and sadness at the fact that we haven't been able to meet in person to worship in this last year. Some churches have been able to do so, but for us, it's not been practically safe or possible to do so because we don't own a building, which complicates access to venues a lot. It's been difficult for us to find a place that's willing to kind of let us in on a Sunday that we normally would hire or rent out. And also it's just been not possible for us to conceive being able to meet due to capacity restrictions and social distancing measures that would be in place. We were hoping to meet this term for Sundays Live, a gathering predominantly aimed at students, but that hasn't been possible due to the impact of the January lockdown upon Central Methodist, the venue that we were booked in for. I am excited to tell you, however, that we are in negotiations with a number of different venues about the potential for G2 to gather there on Sundays in the near future. So join me in praying for those discussions. Pray for open doors and favour as we explore those options. In the meantime, I'm sure that you, just like me, can't wait for the day where we can worship together freely without mask or hand sanitizer and invite our friends and family to join us in person to discover the hope and life of Jesus. Let's keep pressing into the presence of God in this online space, in the comfort of our own homes, and let's keep praying for the day where we can gather together in person and worship our God together. Here are some cracking little highlights and stories from the G2 family about what it meant for them to worship together in person. Enjoy.
Okay, this is going to sound cheesy, but I don't care. I love just the feeling when you walk into G2. It's just amazing. Just the energy in the room is fantastic.
Those ones when I walk in a little bit late, it happens far too often. And I come in through that back door and everyone's already deep in worship.
atmosphere of arriving when there's a bit of a buzz, when I just love the vibes of it.
There's so much love in the room, you know, and I'm always late, so you walk in, there's everyone is already there.
How everyone feels like they're involved on a Sunday, whether that's making coffee or playing in the band.
Just looking from the back, no one can see me, but I can just see my whole family worshipping God.
Being able to worship with other people.
And we have extended worship sometimes.
Worship together as one big family, one big body.
Being able to worship together. Doing it in my bedroom just isn't quite the same.
And I'm like, yes, this is my community, I love it. And then jump straight in.
I just love that coffee culture, that culture of getting to know each other.
When I walk in, I see loads of students that I can chat to. It's always random who I chat to, but that's one of the things I like about it.
Missing just chatting, catching up with you all. Hope you're keeping well.
Pick up when someone's not doing great, pick up when someone needs encouragement.
Also, love
the snacks.
I love the food.
Biscuit table.
Donut week at G2.
Turning up and there might be some like freshly baked cakes or something like that, or
some incredible sugary goods of some kind, brownies, cake, whatever it is, and they just taste phenomenal.
Because not only is there a multitude of biscuits to choose from,
and somehow they're like gluten-free and dairy-free and everything else, and yet they still taste amazing.
There's also a really good chance to talk to people you know, to talk to people you don't really talk to outside of church, as well as meeting lots of new people.
I don't know what magic you're using, but they're amazing.
I love the big Sundays when the room is full and buzzing, when everyone's friends and family are in the room and you get to share Jesus with people.
Especially, I absolutely love it 10 times more on Christmas, and it's even more exciting because, you know, there's more people in the room and there's different kinds of people, and, you know, maybe people brought their friends, they're kind of excited, and it's Christmassy, and there's like decorations of mulled wine or, you know, like hot chocolate or whatever.
Baptism Sunday, my baptism is one of my favourite memories of all time, but just everybody, friends and family coming along, getting together, it's just like a one giant party with one giant family, and it's so much fun.
Seeing the baptism pool in like the middle of the room, because there's like so much and it makes me, I just really want to jump in it.
It's just a fantastic, you know, just a really place that feels really safe and just a fantastic place to be.
Why don't you stand with me now as we take a moment to worship God for all He's done.
We've seen what you can do, oh God of wonders. Your power has no end. The things you've done before, in greater measure, you will do again. We've seen what you can do, power has no end. The things you've done before, in greater measure, you will do again. 'Cause there's no prison wall you can break through, no mountain you can move. All things are possible. Soul that you can save, all things are possible. The darkest night, you can light it up, you can light it up. Oh God of revival, let hope arise. Death is overcome, you've already won. Oh God, in victory, and now you're seated forever on the throne. So why should my heart fear what you defeated? I will trust in you alone. 'Cause there's no prison wall you can break through, no mountain you can move. All things are possible. of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Every stronghold will crumble. I hear chains hit the ground. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Come awaken your people, come awaken the city. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Every stronghold will crumble. I hear chains to the ground. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Come awaken your people, come awaken the city. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Every stronghold will crumble. I hear chains to the ground. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Come awaken your people, come awaken the city. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Every stronghold will crumble. I hear chains hit the ground. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. The darkest night, you can light it up. You can light it up. Oh God of revival, let hope arise. You've already won. Death is overcome. Oh God of revival, the darkest night, you can light it up. You can light it up. Oh God of revival, let hope arise. Death is overcome. You've already won. Oh God of revival, God of revival.
While she's still standing, why don't you join me as we pray to see even greater things still to come this year? In the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 19, we read, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." Lord, would you open our eyes to all that you are doing around us, through the community of G2 and across our city. And would you give us courage to take the step to join you in that, to be used to see your kingdom come and your will be done. Now, why don't you take a seat as we hear more stories and updates, this time from Hannah and Dan on prayer here at G2, and also how as a community we are empowering others in leadership.
At the start of 2020, we launched our year of prayer. When I reflect now, little did we know what was round the corner with the arrival of this pandemic, but also the ways that it would spur us on and encourage us in prayer. As a church, we are passionate about following Jesus and growing in discipleship. And so for us, that means growing in prayer, both individually and together as a community. And why do we want this? Well, because prayer connects us with the very presence of God. It changes us as well as the world around us as we present before God the things that are on our heart. So what does this look like for us over the past year? Well, before COVID hit, you may remember some of our 24/7 and 24/3 prayer events at the St Cuthbert's Centre in York, where we gathered to pray continually for our community, using music and words and silence and art and so much more. When the pandemic hit, we wanted to create a daily rhythm of prayer to help us connect with God and to be praying for the challenges facing our world. And so we launched Gather, a daily online prayer meeting that was inspired by the promise found in the words of Matthew 18:20, where Jesus says, "For where 2 or 3 gather in my name, there I am with them." And in these times of prayer, we cried out to God for people who we knew that were suffering due to COVID. And do you know what? We heard answers to prayer, healings and amazing recoveries. Thank you, Jesus. In the autumn, we launched the prayer course in our fire groups to help us learn more about this topic and also to explore the variety of different ways that you can pray, both on your own and together in our fire groups. And here we also learned about the super helpful PRAY guide to prayer: pause, rejoice, ask, and yield. And alongside that, we launched a whole range of different prayer initiatives to open up lots of different pathways that will encourage us in prayer together. Check out g2york.org/pray to find out more. And I'm sure you remember the stand, where loads of us signed up to pray for an entire week for the students in York, literally standing for an hour at a time outside the University of York on Hes Lord, with lots of prophetic words shared and exciting answers to prayer. And finally, prayer has continued to be a regular part of all our online services and the living room. Wow. What a year of prayer. So much to be thankful for. But you know what? Prayer isn't just something for 2020. Prayer is the most exciting journey with God that we're invited into for our whole lives. And we hope that the focus we gave it in 2020 has encouraged you to step out in prayer. But if not, don't worry, because prayer is here to stay. We want to be a praying church, where we're not only transformed by Jesus through prayer, but we also see answers to prayers that transform our communities, transform our city. So why not join in, get involved? Let's be a church that prays first, is passionate about prayer.
I've always valued prayer, but I guess I've really struggled with finding a regular time to pray. I do lots of kind of prayers during the day and on and off and things, but never really properly and regularly, and I knew it was really important to do that. So I thought, what would fit in with my life and how can I find a time that works for me? And for me, early morning is good. I tend to wake early, I tend to start work early, but by the time I've finished at the end of the day, to be honest, I'm just not in the mood for spending time praying. So I thought, okay, I'll sign up for the 6:30 as it was, 7 o'clock in the morning prayer time on a Tuesday. So I've been doing that since September. And I guess I've just found it really valuable, that being able to just spend 5 or 10 minutes with God before I start work, before I kind of get into my day, laying things out in front of him, the people I'll meet, the meetings I'll have, the things I'll be doing. And it's just given me a different perspective on the things that I do and the people that I meet. And I'm just finding that having got into the habit of doing it on a Tuesday morning, that I'm much more inclined now to kind of wake up and think, actually, let's lay out my time with God, think about it, think about him, think about where he's going to be in those meetings and in those conversations I have with people. And it's just been really beneficial.
I am the church. You are the church. We are the church. You've probably heard that said before. It's not new, but it is good to remind ourselves of this. When we talk about G2 and when we celebrate all that is going on within G2, we're not talking about something that the leader has achieved. We're not talking about a staff team or an institution. We're talking about a wide group of people that have committed to building community together, committed to worshipping together and seeking more of Jesus together. We're talking about you. G2 is all of us. And all the many people that make up G2 bring different gifts and different passions, and we're all working out what God has called us to do in different contexts, and we've got different flavours. And when we share those with one another, it makes us richer. And so one of the things that we can celebrate is the way we empower everyone to step more into who God has made them to be. whether it's a teacher of the Bible or being gifted at hospitality, whether you're an evangelist shouting from the rooftops or someone quietly praying for your friends to know Jesus. You have a team that believe in you. Those of us that are on staff or in some sort of leadership at G2 spend a large part of our time equipping and empowering people so they can use their gifts for the kingdom, and ultimately so that more people know more of Jesus in their lives. Whether we're supporting someone in taking their first steps as a small group leader, or helping someone to prepare to lead on a Sunday, or even just chatting through how a scripture might be relevant today. We have a very strong culture of empowerment in our church. That means we all carry the hope of what could be. Let's hear a story about this.
Hello G2, my name's Misha, and I was a student at the University of York about a year and a half ago, and whilst I was there, I was a part of G2. But before I came to uni, the kind of Christian thinking that I had grown up surrounded by wasn't really into the idea of women being leaders, and it was quite rooted in this idea that God is a God who will kind of shame you and guilt trip you. And I think I had this quite twisted idea of God that made me feel quite anxious a lot of the time, and I wasn't really sure where I fitted in this family of people who said they loved God, and I wasn't really sure what I had to offer. So then when I came to uni, I wasn't really sure if church was for me. But thankfully I had a life-changing conversation with Lydia Brame on the second day of Freshers. I sat next to her in a fire safety chat, and she invited me along to G2. And there I found this group of people who seemed to know a different kind of God than the one that I thought I had known as I was growing up. And this group of people really invested in each other and seemed to really love spending time with each other, and really tried to empower and encourage each other. And then in the Christmas holidays of my first term at uni, Adam Mitchell-Baker sent me a message asking if I'd like to be part of any of the teams that make Sundays happen and make G2 happen. So I helped with worship and speaking, and I was on a few weekly hubs. And I really loved getting stuck into G2 life, and I loved being an active part of a church, and I found it a lot of fun. I'd never found my faith fun before. And I think it really clicked for me over the years at G2 that being part of a family of God is all about encouraging and supporting each other and cheering each other on, and calling out the good things that we see in each other. And that is something that I still carry on with me into my life today. I'm a theatre director down in Cornwall. And even, in rehearsals and stuff, I try and think about this group of people as being like a family who will have amazing gifts to offer. And I also work in a cafe church called Tube Station. And there as well, whenever we're thinking about Tube Station as a church, and the kind of the vision and the direction and the purpose, I still have those words of encouragement that I heard at G2 all those years ago. So it's made a big difference to my life, so much so that now I just absolutely love being part of the family of God, and I love encouraging local churches. I love being part of my church, which is something I'd never thought I'd say. So it's been a pleasure to see you all, even if it is kind of on screen. Lots of love to you all, and hopefully see you very, very soon. Goodbye.
God is working through all of us, through the community of G2. And you can join in with this, making greater things possible now and in the future. So let's hear from Holly as she shares with us and invites us to join in.
Let's play a game of Would You Rather, G2. Would you rather live in a land of plenty or the land of just enough? Seems like an obvious answer. There is a story in the first half of the Bible, the Old Testament, where God's people are faced with this same question. The Israelites, a nation who have only just left slavery in Egypt, have seen incredible miracles of God before their very eyes. The Red Sea parted and they walked across the seabed into freedom. They crossed the desert, and at this point they're only 40 days' journey away from their promised land, the place God has for them, which is a land of plenty in which their identity will be restored, their centuries' worth of hope fulfilled. We meet them at this point in the book of Numbers, chapter 13, where they've travelled so close to their promised land that they can see it from a distance. And so they send out 12 scouts to spy out the land and find out what's ahead for God's people. The scouts come back bearing some massive grapes from the promised land to prove how plentiful it is. But they bring back two very different reports. All of the scouts, all 12 of them, tell the nation of Israel, the promised land is amazing. It's a land flowing with milk and honey. It's a land of plenty, just like God said. But 10 of the 12 say, but it's terrifying. The people are actual giants. From our perspective, we seemed like grasshoppers compared to them. They're just going to think they can crush us, that we're tiny, mini people. The land we explored devours those living in it. But 2 of the 12, Joshua and Caleb, say, this land is exceedingly good. A bit like Mr. Kipling. It's a land of plenty. We should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it. It says that in Numbers. Who would you vote with? Would you rather live in a land of plenty or the land of just enough? Maybe to make a decision, you need more context. At this point, the Israelites are camped out in the desert in this weird limbo, this uncontested safe space. They live in temporary shelters and tents, and God sends just enough miraculous food called manna from heaven every morning. Yeah, it tastes the same every day, and yeah, every day is a little monotonous. And they have just enough. And compared to slavery in Egypt, I imagine that seemed pretty good. They've come from a place of having nothing, of struggle, and so having and just enough is a pretty good deal. But it's not the promised land. It's not the land of plenty God has for them. It's not where they are supposed to be living. So from that point of view, which Scouts report would you go with? Would you stay put and avoid the rumoured giants in the land of just enough? Or would you venture out and trust what God said about the land of plenty? I wonder which one you would pick. I think lots of people who follow Jesus, and lots of times we as the church, choose the land of just enough when it comes to money. And I say that because I often choose the land of just enough when it comes to money and when it comes to giving. But Jesus invites us into a land of plenty. Just for the record, that is not a land of wealth and swimming pools full of cash, FYI. Giving away your money isn't going to make you rich. But this is a land of plenty, of his blessing, of experiencing the goodness of relying on God, of giving him all we have to him, of testing him, just like he invites us to in Malachi, and seeing how God opens the floodgates to his gifts, his goodness over us, when we let go of our money and our stuff, and we leave our hands free to receive what he's promised to us. Fullness of life with him. We can choose the land of plenty in our giving, by choosing to stretch ourselves in the money that we give, by prayerfully increasing our giving to God through giving to his church. For you, that might be G2. And of course, giving to the needy. We can choose to see our money and our stuff as all belonging to God, but entrusted to us. And so giving generously is exciting. It's another way we can draw close to Jesus and contribute as part of his family and bless the world he's placed us in. That sounds great, doesn't it? Actually living how Jesus called us to live, seeing the miracle of God's provision and goodness every day and stepping into the adventure of generosity and the land of plenty he has promised you and I. But the thing is, the land of just enough is pretty good. Don't get me wrong, when it comes to giving, the land of just enough is definitely better than nothing. Living in the land of just enough with your money and your giving is like the Israelites living in the desert. You pitch your tent there because eventually, in the future, you'll live in a more radical, generous way. This is just a pit stop in the meantime. This is a temporary stopping place. In the land of just enough, you're provided for. You get the daily manna. Yeah, it's a bit bland. Yeah, it tastes the same every day, but it's safe. You give enough to church, enough to charity, enough to the needy. You're being careful, you're staying put, especially in this unprecedented time where there are rumours of giants out there, just in case they present a massive challenge to you and could be really real. Crashed economies, Brexit, redundancy, uncertain futures, further lockdowns. But what is also just as real, in fact, it's even more real, even more certain, is that God has promised more to you. This is not where you were supposed to live. God has got you. God can lead you into a land of plenty where you can give wisely and radically. Test me in your giving, says God, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven. There'll be so much blessing, there'll not be enough room for it. Land of plenty, land of just enough. The Israelites, spoiler alert, vote with the majority report, and they choose not to enter the land of plenty, the very promised land they set out for in the first place. They choose to stay put. And as a result, they stay put in the desert for another 40 years. A whole generation dies out and never reaches the promised land, having tasted the fruit, but rejected it in favour of what seemed like a life of certainty and safety in the land of just enough. G2, let's avoid that same trap. Let us choose the land of plenty when it comes to our giving. Pretty much all of us can give more, even just a little bit, even if it's just pennies. And we can invite God to pour out his blessings to others through the money that we give, and to us through our generosity and our open-handedness.
We have now launched our 90-day challenge, and don't worry, it's not too late to join in this countercultural generosity adventure.
Yeah, in the Bible, we are invited to test God in this way through the giving of our resources, stretching our faith in his provision and pushing the boundaries of our comfort zone for the advancement of his kingdom here on earth.
In the 90-day challenge, you and I get to do just that by putting aside and giving more than we would usually. And don't worry, if you get to the end of the 90 days and decide that you're not sure that that was the right thing to do, we will contact you and see if you want it back.
It's like a money back guarantee. But we want to make joining this adventure with Jesus as accessible as possible. So whether you have never given to G2 before, or whether you've just grown a bit comfortable with the amount that you give and just want to take your next step on the journey of living out Jesus' generosity, you can find out more at g2york.org/90.
Join us back here next week for our new series, Resilient Disciples, where we'll be exploring 5 practical ways to grow in faith based on academic research, and there'll be some practices for us to try too. I can't wait.
Me neither. And right up next, in the living room, join us on Zoom where we get a chance to catch up, have a chat with some old friends, make some new ones, pop the kettle on, and we'll see you there.
Bye!